Hey, what's going on, everybody, man? K the Barber here, and we're in another episode of Let's Talk About It podcast. I am with a special guest, Marc Bennett, the owner of Happy Barbershop. He's been in the game for 15 years. He's been doing this for a very long time. He teaches classes now. He owns other couple businesses that we're going to get into as well. And he's from the East Coast, too, and he resides out here in the West, you know what I mean, making things happen for the community of San Diego, man. So I am so excited for this interview. It's been a while since we've been trying to get this online. You know what I mean? About 3 months now, man. And so, hey, whatever we had going on, today's the perfect time to get this conversation going. How you doing today, brother?
Good, man. Good. Thanks for making time for me. And yeah, it's been a long time coming. We've been talking about this since December or so.
Yeah. Christmas. You know how Christmas is, and holidays, and it's tax season now. We always doing our thing and stuff like that. So I know you were teaching earlier today, right?
Yeah. That's
So
right.
tell me about that a little bit. And like, as an owner of a barbershop, you still teach.
Yeah. So, I actually don't cut hair anymore. I stopped
Mm-hmm.
cutting hair shortly after COVID. I've just got my hands in a lot of different things, and the time it takes for me to do haircuts is more better. It's better spent doing other things in my businesses, including the barbershop. And one of those things is I do teach. Today I taught a flat top class. And then I also taught how to retire as a millionaire as a barber, one haircut at a time. So I do teach those. I teach how to open a barbershop, tax basics, hiring tricks, those types of things. So in my opinion, the most important thing we can do as more seasoned barbers is to start to give back. And personally, in all honesty, I enjoy more the teaching aspect of it than I do the haircutting part of it. It's not like I've been a barber so long. There's barbers out there who are 90 years old still cutting hair.
Mm-hmm,
Have
exactly.
definitely respect to them. But for me, I more like the business side of barbering. I like mentoring people. I like building people up. And it's such a cool industry that we're in because you can literally I literally have at my shop in Poway taken a customer, turned him into an apprentice, made him a barber, and then opened a shop with him. And so he owns half of Pappy's Barbershop in Poway as well. So there's no other jobs really that you can do that, where you can like take a friend or a client and turn them into a partner. So in my mind, then I feel like this is the best thing we can do as like more seasoned people in this industry.
Isn't that like a great feeling that you can do for, like you said, your apprentice to your contractor, and then now you see somebody that you've kind of like, I won't say pretty much raised, but you did raise them right as a
Yep.
barber, and then you see
Yep.
them just blossom into something that you see yourself as. You know what I mean? Like, what does that take to do as an owner? If you want to see a lot of your contractors own a business, what does that take? What's the process for that?
First, you got to have no ego in it, right? You got to like
Mm.
want people to grow. If you don't want them to grow, then obviously it's going to be difficult, and you may get your feelings hurt when people leave and move on. But the nature of our business is generally people who become barbers, in my opinion, just like myself. I never went to college. I barely graduated high school. So I became a barber because I never necessarily liked being a standard employee. So I think if you become an owner with the sense that you're going to own the people who work there, and they're going to stay forever, that's generally not the case. It's very rare that barbers stay more than 5-6 years, even
Mhm.
when there's nothing wrong with them or the situation, everything's fine. I think people just grow. They want to do their own thing. And in my mind, I just want to help them do that because it's better for my own psychology. It's better for them. And I think it's just overall, it's a good thing. So I think the first thing is you just can't be like selfish or have ego in it to want to help people grow, or else it's just not going to work.
No, I hear you. As a barbershop owner as myself, you definitely want to see, the people underneath you grow and start their own business, the right way and stuff like that. But I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I will get a little butthurt, right? If say a barber, you've been with him for, 3 years, and he comes to the shop and he doesn't have any clientele. He builds his client and then he just leaves and goes to another barbershop.
Mm-hmm.
And he takes all those clients with him. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And I have to like really self-check myself
Mm-hmm.
about that, because at the end of the day, it wasn't about me. It's
Yep.
about that individual,
Yep.
and making sure that they're able to be a successful barber, um, in the future. Do you ever get that feeling of like, dang, I lost one, and feel kind of like, dang, you know what? I wish they would have stayed just a little bit longer.
I try to have very open type conversation with
Hmm.
everyone. I let them know from the get go, like, my intention is not to keep you here forever. It is to help you grow, whether that's going to a suite or opening your own shop or going to another shop. Um, I think all those things, having that open conversation makes a big difference, because then if they are, first of all, if you have conversation regularly, you'll get a feel for like if they're not happy too. And so at that point is when you can either address like, hey, like if it's just not the right fit, like no hard
Hmm.
feelings, like let's either figure it out, or if it's time to move on, it's time to move on. I've also had barbers over the years where it's just time for them to move on. They're fine. They work hard. They have a ton of clientele, but they for sure are in a place where it's time for them to move on to even another shop, because they're just too comfortable. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, and and I think that having the open conversation really makes a difference. I personally, I'm very lucky. I've had people leave to open shops, but I knew about it the whole time. I supported it. I shouted it out for them when they left. I've had people leave to go to other shops. Generally, though, it was because it was maybe closer to their house or something like that. And I've had people just quit barbering. They just don't even barber anymore. Also,
Hmm.
so I and then I've opened shops with barbers also. So I think that I've had all the scenarios pretty much, but I've never had that situation where they just kind of leave for no reason,
Hmm.
or I didn't know that they were not a good fit or that it wasn't working out. Um, because I like to over communicate. It's just my style. I like to kind of know where they're at. I want them to know where I'm at. And sometimes that has bitten me in the ass too, though.
Right.
Because I'm a little too open, I think, with the people that work at the shop, and sometimes they can take advantage of that too.
No, that sounds that's a like a good leader of what you're doing. You know what I mean? A lot of owners don't do that. A lot of owners don't communicate with their people that are underneath them, their understudies and stuff like that, and they just kind of like treat people as a number. I just remember when I was owning a shop, and we have those monthly shop meetings, and I'm calling them, I'm checking on them, making sure that they're doing okay, and make sure they need anything from me, getting different ideas from them, and just having, like you said, an open conversation. Some people gravitated towards it, some people didn't. You know what I mean? But that's good of what you said. Like you never were, um, you know, hit over, like a lopsided, like you didn't know if somebody was gonna leave or not, man. That's pretty dope, man. Because you don't see, like I said, you don't see a lot of like business owners that know that. Usually, people you get that phone call, you get that text, and say like, "Hey, I need to talk to you," right? He's like,
Yep.
"Uh oh, here we go again,"
Yep.
So, um, what made you want to become a barber in the first place?
Man, so like you said in the beginning, I've owned and I currently own lots of businesses, not just
Mhm.
barbershops. So I'm from New Jersey originally. I moved to San Diego when I was 25. I'm 51 now, back in 2000. And, I was a body piercer at that time. And in the 90s, body piercing was a huge biz. It was a great living. And so I opened a tattoo shop when I got here with a tattoo artist. So it was myself and a tattoo artist that owned the shop. And as the 2000s rolled around, piercing just wasn't a thing, really. It wasn't something you could make a living at least. So I was like, man, I own a tattoo shop. Like I'm a piercer, but I'm sitting here all day. I'm not making any money. Like, what
Mhm.
could I do? And I always liked going to the barbershop, just like we all do, right? It's like the communal experience, and you feel
Mhm.
good because you have your hair cut fresh, and you just went and saw your friend that you've been making a relationship with. And I was like, and I'm good at talking with people. So I was like, I think I could be a barber. And I talked to my barber, and he's like, dude, you've got everything it takes to be a barber. You just need to learn how to cut hair. And so I was like, great. I feel like it would be a good match. And that was it. And so I became a barber kind of by mistake almost. Plan A didn't work. So I just turned it into plan B,
Mhm.
and I wanted to do something that I felt like I'd be good at.
Mhm. Now you say you're from New Jersey,
Yeah.
right? How did you end up in this California? You decided like, I'm just gonna just go to the West Coast and just try this thing out, or like what was the motivation behind that?
Man, I mean, I don't know how much you know about New Jersey, but it's cold a lot
Not
there,
nothing
man.
about really. Yeah.
It's cold. It's cold, and people are not generally not very happy. And I'm like a happy person. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So for
Yeah.
me, I wanted to. So I had a friend who was living here in San Diego, he was from New Jersey also, but he was in the military here, and he was like, "Come visit me. I'm about to be finished in the military. I have like a few months left, and then I'm going to move with my girlfriend to Oregon, where she's from." And he's like, "But you should come visit because it's like the perfect New Jersey summer all the time here." And I was like, all right, I'll come and check it out. And it was January. And I showed up here, and I left New Jersey, and it was like negative whatever and snow. And I got here, and it was like beautiful and sunshine and beautiful
Yeah. Yeah.
people. And, everybody was friendly. And I was like, man. So I called my friend after I got home from that trip just 2 days later. And I was like, man, I wish I could live out there. And he's like, well, check it out. Like, why don't you come and you could stay in my apartment for three months, because I basically live at my girlfriend's house. I'm
Mhm.
paying rent anyway. Try it out. You don't even have to pay rent, and if it works, it works. And I was like, perfect. And so I
Why
literally
not, right?
put in my 2 weeks
Yeah. Yeah.
notice, drove out. That was it, and then I never looked back.
Yeah. I told my wife, I was like, let's move to New York, like when we retire. She was like, why?
Where are you at again? What part of the city? Where are you?
Oh, I live right now. I just moved to La Mesa.
Oh,
So
okay, yeah, yeah,
yeah, I lived in San Diego for like the last, man, like basically 20 years, right? Just all over, different pockets, Linda Vista, Southeast,
sure.
Mira Mesa. We just now, we rent out a house now. So who was able to do that? And, but she was like, why? And I was like,
No,
I
don't
just
do it.
want to do something different, something new. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm a city boy. So
Yeah,
for me, I was like, okay, I don't want to go if, when you retire, I don't want to go into the South or somewhere that's slow and urban. You know what I mean? Not rural, not urban, but, and I'm just like,
right.
New York might be the place for me. So do you think as a Californian, can a California person survive like in that East Coast weather and vibe and stuff like that? What do you think?
Man, I don't know. The cold weather definitely takes a toll on your psychology. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you're just cooped up in the house all the time, and it generally just makes people in general not as happy. And so that So even when you go to Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts or whatever for your coffee, people there just aren't friendly. Like every time we go
Mhm.
visit my family, my wife, like we're actually going to New Jersey on Friday to visit family. And my wife is like, I just have to prepare myself for how miserable everybody is over there, because you'll get off the very first person you talk to, you'll get off and you go to get a pack of gum or a soda or whatever. And the person's just mad for no
Yeah,
reason,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Is it
and so it's a whole different vibe over there. So if you could get around that, you'll be fine because there's, the East Coast is cool. There's lots of history there.
Mhm.
There's big cities like New York or Philadelphia, but I don't know, man. We got it good in SoCal.
Oh, we have it beautiful in SoCal. I'm originally from Los Angeles, and I haven't even moved back there. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Because San Diego
yeah,
is just such a first it's a melting pot, and then the weather is just phenomenal, man. You can't
yeah,
you can't find a place like this
yeah.
nowhere. I think in the country. To be honest
No,
with you, so
no,
I'm here for now. Um, you were telling me, like a brief summary of your story. And you grew up in New Jersey, right? And the high school you went to was, you said, 85% African American.
yeah.
So, what was that experience like, being like one of the few white people at your school?
It was an interesting experience, but I didn't know any differently either.
Right.
So in my mind, I'm very lucky. I never experienced like any sort of racism or anything. But the crazy thing is somehow through that, I got into like skateboarding, punk rock music,
Hmm.
that no one in the school was into that. But somehow
Right.
I found that. I don't know if it was through TV or just other neighborhood kids or what. But yeah, it was a different experience. Like my wife, my kids had my yearbook out the other day,
Uh
and my wife was like, "Was there any white kids in your school?" And I was like, "I mean, there was a few, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
but
Enough, right?
yeah, I mean,
Right.
it's so funny because when I moved here, I was like, "Where are all the black people at?"
Right, right.
I was like,
That's
"This
hey,
is
that's kind of weird because I did the same thing.
right." Yeah, exactly. And but I feel like it really gave me a good, well-rounded, because it was funny, like my friends, my African American friends growing up, they would talk about racism and stuff, and in my mind I'm like, I don't understand what you mean, because
Mm,
I don't see it because I'm like the minority here.
right.
So
Mm,
like we had at my high school, we had two lunchrooms. One was African American, the other one was other. It was
mm.
like the white
Okay.
kids, the few Hispanic kids, and some Asian kids were in there. And
Hmm.
so the littlest bit of racism I ever saw was one time my buddy was like, "Oh, come sit with us over here," and I like walked in there. I was like the only white dude, and I was like, "Okay, I got to get out of here." It didn't seem
Uh-huh.
right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But even that wasn't like blatant. I just felt uncomfortable in the
Yeah,
situation.
yeah. No, no, I get it.
But I think overall it was a good experience, man. It taught me diversity. I feel like I really I want to see everybody succeed, and I did see benefits of being white in a majority African American community, that, and
Mhm,
looking back now as an adult, that I didn't realize. And
mhm,
so it just taught me tolerance, and I wanted to be friends with everybody. I didn't care about skin color or anything like that, because I felt out of place where I was. So when people accepted me, I was like, this is great. So the people who were accepting me were like Puerto Rican and black.
mhm.
And the white kids the few white kids that were there, they didn't associate with anybody, but I was kind of like a melting pot. I like wanted to hang with anybody. So
Hmm.
I don't know. In my mind, it was good, but it was definitely different. That's for sure. I was
Yeah.
the only kid in my neighborhood that went to public school, because my little section of the neighborhood I lived in was mostly white and Hispanic, but it was just like a square mile. And then the rest of the town was mostly African American. So I was the only kid in my little neighborhood clique of friends that went to the public school. Everybody else went to private school.
Hmm.
So it was a little bit
That's
different, but
that's interesting, man, to see that different perspective of how you grew up and how it kind of shaped your life into who you are to this day. Um, do you think I know it, do not do you think, but I know it has definitely influenced you the way you run your business, right? And
yes.
how you connect with clients and in different types of walks of life during your businesses.
Yep. Well,
Yeah,
one thing that's crazy is as you know, there's like white barbershops and black barbershops.
right.
And this situation drives me crazy because I want a black barber in here because
Mm-hmm.
we're right by San Diego State. There's tons of African American people there. None of them come to my shop.
Mm,
You know what I
right.
mean? Because when you come in, it's like Mexican guys and white guys.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's wearing white. Our floors are checkerboard. It looks very traditional, like a barber
Classic,
shop.
classic
Classic.
traditional barbershop. Yes.
So we don't attract certain people into our shop because of that. And that has always, I feel like there's a miss because I want everybody in here.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I hire female barbers too, because I don't like the divide. I like making sure that everybody is feeling comfortable.
Right.
So, I've for 15 years, I've been like putting it out there because I go and speak at schools and everything. And I'm like, my space is open to anyone who wants to come in here. And I would love to have an African American barber in here because then it would really complete the whole circle because I have women, I have gay people, I have men, I have Hispanic, Asian, white. I've got everything in here. And so I think it would really be beneficial to the shop as a whole because my little catchphrase is that everybody is welcome here,
Mm,
except it seems like certain people might not be welcome
mm.
here. You know what I mean?
It can be true because outside looking in, I've noticed your barbershop years ago when you were in the smaller location across the street, and I always thought to myself that this is a more traditional barbershop. In my mind, right? Like I'm thinking, okay, you see people that don't look like me that work there. They got the white coats, the checkerboard floors, and how can I connect with them, right? Or
Yep.
how can I receive a service from them? Because in my mind, how they don't have the experience to cut my type of hair, you know what I mean? And so, it's sad, but it's true. Experience in the barbershop, how to do certain things is just it is what it is. You know what I
Sure.
mean? So
Yep.
when I open up my shop, I was an educator at Bellis Academy.
Hmm.
And so I had the opportunity and the privilege to teach a lot of different students of walks of life and stuff like that and have these connections. And I was able to get, like you said, a couple Hispanic boys, a couple of white females, you know what I mean? And I really wanted to diversify the barbershop because like you said, man, barbering, cutting hair is hair,
Yep.
right? In your experience of whatever texture of hair that you cut is your experience. But if you get an opportunity to, cut somebody's hair, like I worked next to when I first started barbering to a Hispanic guy. I was cutting teeny hairs prior to that, right? Like before I even went to barber school, but I had no idea how to cut like straight hair. But it
Hmm.
wasn't until I got into that atmosphere where I was like, okay, he's teaching me the ropes and the things of what I need to do. And now, I can do pretty much any types of hair, plus being an educator and stuff like that, man. So
Yep.
I diversity is everything, I think, in a
Yep.
barbershop. And like you're
Yep.
trying to say, man. And so
Yep.
like I definitely got your back if you need some help with that. You know
Yeah,
what I
for sure.
mean?
And
Not for
like
sure.
in my mind, it doesn't have to be like there's also people who have African Americans type hair that may not want to go to an African American barbershop also because maybe
Mm,
they don't relate with the culture. They don't like hip hop or they don't like whatever the culture is there. And so those people could come here. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have
Yeah,
to be
yeah,
like, it doesn't what I guess what I'm saying is like, it doesn't have to, because there's a place for like a traditional barbershop, and there's a place for an urban type barbershop, because there's different people who want hip hop on the radio when they go in there. They want people who look a certain way when they go in there. That's fine. And those places, they have their place. What I'm saying is, there also is a place for people. There's also white kids who identify more with Black culture, and they would feel better and in a more urban type shop. So in my mind, it's like, I feel like if we had an African American barber in here, their clientele would be, they would have unlimited clientele, because they would be the only one that anybody would want to go see that
it's true.
that is maybe African American, right?
Mhm.
So and maybe they're the type of people who don't identify so much with urban culture.
Mhm.
So in my mind, like, it can be some type of a blend of it all, And so, but I've just had a hard time finding that.
Yeah. Yeah, we got to work at that as a community and as a
Yeah, for
barbershop
sure.
too together. I think about having these open discussions and open dialogues of just different people in the community. You know what I mean?
Yep.
What happened to like a barber organization where we all come together and have these meetings like monthly? You know what I mean? Have you ever thought about starting something like that, or just coming together with different barbershop owners and just
Yeah.
seeing like how can we grow culturally as a unit in the industry?
Yeah, I mean, I've thought of it because I have this giant space here. I have the classroom I use, it's almost 2,000 square feet. It's
Hmm.
perfect for to have a meeting like that. And I think it's just a matter of somebody like taking the reins and organizing it and
Hmm.
saying, let's get together quarterly or monthly or however often we want to. And let's talk through issues, because there's other issues too, like beyond cultural in
Hmm.
barbering. Like, for instance, why am I charging $45 for a haircut, and the guy down the road who's also a traditional barbershop is charging 30?
Hmm.
It shouldn't be like that. Or why is your shop 50 and the guy down the road is 30? It just shouldn't be like that. We
Hmm.
should all come together and make the price what it is, so that we can all move up in this industry, because we know, as you know, we're like underpaid
Yes,
big
we
time.
are. I saw an article, and it read that right now, to this day, 2025, financially, right, for a barber, excuse me, to charge $65 a haircut to be financially stable in the economy right now, and just in the United States of America, it didn't even mention that California, it didn't say Texas. It's like $65 a haircut, and I think of that right now, right? Because I charge $50 for a haircut, and I'm like, what would happen to my clientele if I was to like one day just say, you know what, I'm gonna go from 50 to 65. I've heard stories with people, they've been at 45 and they jump all the way to 75. Lost half their clientele, and they're like, all right, you know what, God's gonna bless me, right? But for me, deep down, I'm like, how could I do that, right? As a working barber, as a family man, lose half my clientele. I don't know what I would do with that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I know we have
Yeah.
to come to some type of medium where you got people from school, graduate from school, where they come out charging $80.
Yep. Well, like they say, ignorance is bliss. It's like they don't know any better. They see barbers on Instagram and social media charging that much, and they're just like, "That's what I'm going to charge."
Hmm.
And the ones who are good and they're good with people and they can do a nice haircut, they'll get away with it.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And then here we are cutting hair for 20 years. We're still like,
20 years,
"Fuck," you know what I
right?
mean? And
Right.
that's just our own insecurity. But the reality of it is, if we would all come together and go, look, let's not have it be 30 at one and 60 at another. Let's make the range, because there's newer barbers, right? There's more experienced barbers. It shouldn't be exactly the same. Like at my shop, we have $35. That's for any barber that's been cutting less than 2 years. Then we have $40 for barbers that much over, and then $45 for the most experienced barbers. Like, so we have a bit of a hierarchy here. But I'm saying in general, like, what if everybody was like, if anyone works at your shop that's under 2 years, it's $40.
Right.
If anyone works over 5 years, it's $50. And we had some sort of standard as a group. Then it makes it easier when it's like we could all come together the same way and say, now we're going up to $60, all of us. So they're not going to, so no one's going to go anywhere else.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because there is nowhere else to go. But then on top of that, we're competing with Supercuts or the cheap $8, $12 barbershops. You know, and so that waters it way down too. But I think what barbers have to realize is with a premium, you also have to give a premium experience. And I think that's where people go wrong. They're just like, I'm just going to raise my price for the hell of raising my price. And you can't do that. You know, it has to be like, well, you have to give them a $60 experience or a $75 experience. What is that? I don't know. Maybe it's washing their hair. Maybe it's massaging their shoulders. I don't know what it is. It could be different for everybody, but you can't just do the same thing and raise your prices $20. It doesn't make any sense.
And I think that's something, if, like I said, we're all to come together and have these meetings, we can actually write the blueprint of what a premium service is. You know, like you said, maybe it's washing the hair. Maybe it's just even knowing your client's name.
Yep.
You know, these are the things that I think about, and I'm like, okay. And some people have pushed me and say, you know what, you need to start it. You need to start it, right? And then you connect with some of these people and these other chiefs that are in the industry, and nobody wants to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it might be something me and you have to do, brother.
Hey,
we
man,
might have to break the ground with it, you know.
Yeah, I'm down for doing it because I feel like all these years we are seriously underpaid for what we provide. There is no other service that you go to every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks. People don't get massages that often. People don't get, I mean, maybe women get nails or whatever, but for men, for sure, there's nothing else that you do that often. And so for the fact that we don't get paid a premium for that, it just doesn't make any sense, especially nowadays when you have to spend $150,000 to open a shop to make it look a certain way. And then what? I'm going to charge you $25 for a haircut? No, you can't do that. It's the days of just throwing 3 chairs in a shop and some junky furniture and a picture of 10 haircuts on the wall. Those days are gone. People want like free drinks. They want free food. They want free merchandise. They want, the barbers want you to buy everything. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's a different world that we live in, and we have not raised the price to reflect that.
I've driven past your shop numerous times, almost every day, because my kids go to school literally around the corner.
Oh, nice. And
every time I drive by, I drive by slowly because I'm like, I just want to see how it looks inside there. Just because from outside, it looks immaculate. And so what made you put your heart and soul into that type of appearance for the barbershop that you have?
Man, I live by that old adage of how you do anything is how you do everything. And in my mind, it's like, why, if I don't want to be the cheap guy, why am I going to have a cheap shop? And I want literally people to have an experience, not just the customer, but the barber too. For the barber to be like, wow, like every time a new barber comes in here to get a job, or they, you know, they're always like, damn, dude, this shop is so clean. It's so nice. Like, you've really paid attention to every detail, you know, from everything, the decor to the tile to whatever. And I'm like, yeah, because I don't want to do it halfway. And I feel like the success I've had in life is because I don't like half step it. And I think a lot of people, especially this day in social media, is they want instant gratification, and they think, well, I'm just gonna like show up to work on time sometimes, or I'm gonna do a nice haircut sometimes, or I'm gonna treat people right whenever I feel good. And then they wonder why they're not making it in this industry, because they see other people online out there fronting, in all honesty, putting on a front that they're successful when they're really not. And so people don't want to put in the work, they don't want to put in the time, they don't want to invest the money. And so there's a reason why I can have 10 barbers, 7 on every day, booked from open to close. Whether you've started here today or you've been here for 3 years, you will be booked today. So if you came to my shop tomorrow to start, you would be booked for the whole day. 12 services, booked. So there's a reason why I can do that. And that's because when a customer walks in, or a barber, they're like, okay, this is like a serious place. It's not like, it's not, no disrespect to people who have toolboxes or whatever, but it's not that. You know what
Sorry,
I mean?
I didn't want to laugh. I'm sorry, man. That's funny. I feel
And
exactly what you're saying, brother.
yeah, and I mean, like, and there's nothing wrong, because everybody also people don't have the means sometimes to spend a bunch of money on a shop. I understand. I get it. But to get to the next level, when you open your next shop, instead of like having Jordans on your feet or whatever you're into, that money has to go into real barber chairs and real countertops and real, not stick tile, but like actual tile. You know what I mean? Like that, you have to reinvest into it. And then what happens is your customers also, they like to see you growing like that. And on top of that, do you know how many business things have come across my lap because of the way I run my shop? People are like, I want to do business with you. Here's what I do. Do you want to be a part of it? Yeah, I do. I would love to be a part of that. And that's strictly only because I have like nice tile floors. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, first impression it goes a long way, man.
yeah, it's
It
huge.
really
It's
does.
huge.
First,
So
it's
yeah, man, like I don't chinch on I don't put stickers on windows. I get them hand painted. All my signs are custom made. You know what I mean? But in the beginning, it wasn't like that. So I think that, I've been doing this long enough, and I want to be the best at what I do. Still, I screw up. Don't get me wrong. I still do things wrong. I still get it wrong a lot of the time. But I think for the most part, I've got the barbering thing down.
That's good. So, how do you build a strong team and keep your barbers motivated?
I think having the ability for them to grow, it made all the difference when I started having barbers, then senior barbers, and then barbers that work at Pappy's Premier, because that went from, it created a hierarchy, and it created it like, okay, so in X amount of time, I'm going to make more money because my price is going to go up and I'm going to get a promotion, quote unquote. I mean, everybody's independent, but not a promotion, but they get to like move up to the next level, and I think and also the conversation I'm having with them, like, okay, Bobby, you live in Temecula. Great. Let's open a shop. Let's open a shop there. You want to open a Pappy's there? I'm happy to open a Pappy's there too. Let's do that together, so that they're like, okay, so it's worth it for me to drive all the way down here from Temecula, because I know that in the end, I like the way that Marc does business. So in the end, I have an opportunity to possibly do business with him too. And so that's why I said my turnover is so low, because people feel like they don't feel like they're just paying a booth rent or a commission and not getting anything out of it.
No. So I'm listening to you speak, and it seems like you have like more of a commission base, or you have it where everybody schedules into a one scheduling system to book with your barbers?
Mm-hmm.
Is that how you do that?
Yes.
So how did you get your barbers to buy into that?
I
That theory?
mean, it's not hard when
Mhm.
barbers are coming from shops and they're like, dude, I'm doing like 1 or 2 haircuts a day over there. And I'm like, okay, you can come work for me at my shop, or not work for me, but work at my shop. And tomorrow when you start, you'll have 12 haircuts to do. And because of that, you have to pay a premium.
Yeah.
You have to pay a commission to do that,
Mhm.
because you'll make, and I have one barber that's been working for me for 7 years. He's at, or has it 7 years, 6 years, I think. He's at Pappy's Premiere now. And he's like, dude, I make more money on commission with you than I ever made as a booth renter,
Hey.
because I'm so busy all the time.
Hmm.
And what it does is it gives me motivation to keep everyone busy, because the more they make, the more I make, as opposed to on a booth rent model, like after the chairs are full, that's it. What's my incentive to keep the shop busy? You're all paying rent anyway.
Yeah, I know. I sold my shop in 2020. I don't know if you heard of K Cuts Barbershop. That's what I
Yeah,
owned. And so I told myself, if I ever open up a shop, that's the route I will go,
yeah,
because I've looked at all these different business models, and commission is the way I think is to go for. Like you said, for every single person that walks through that door, you get a piece of that pie. You know
yeah,
what I mean? And where sometimes you can get frustrated as an owner is that, like, you might have your shop full, but once that booth rent is paid, you're kind of just tapped out.
that's
You know
it.
what I mean? And you don't make any other money off that, especially if you don't have, like, if you don't have supplies, if you're not selling product in the shop, you don't have any extra income that's coming
Yeah,
in for people to make
yeah,
and to help you out with that. And so I know from listening to you and listening to other barbershop owners that are very successful, that's the way to go. And
yeah,
I'm wondering why most barbershop owners, they don't do that. I know why I didn't do it, right? I didn't want to have to deal with all the paperwork,
right.
right? I want to slam dunk, pay my booth rent, 1099 you, and then that's it. You know what I mean? But
Yep.
I wonder, like I said, why do you think most barbershop owners don't go the commission route?
I mean, one, because it's just not normal. That's one reason, right?
Hmm.
Two, and barbers don't like to hear this, but shop own when we all have good intentions when we become a business owner, right?
Hmm.
And I've heard so many barbershop owners say, well, I want to take care of my barbers, and so I want to keep it low booth. There's shops around here that offer like $100 a week booth rent. It's freaking bananas.
There's somebody around the corner from us.
And I'm just like, what? How could you survive on that? But that's beside the point. But I I think what it is that we have a good intention when we open a barbershop. We want to take care of the barbers. They're the ones doing the haircuts. So we want to give them an affordable rent.
Mhm.
My experience is, and this is not just in barbershops, other businesses too, the barber doesn't care about the shop so much anyway. And as
No,
soon as
not at
there's
all.
cheaper rent or a cooler shop or whatever, they're going to leave. They don't care to take care of you as the shop owner, but they expect you to take care of them. And just because they're showing up and doing a haircut doesn't mean that they're doing that they're contributing in any way. They're just doing their haircuts. You know what I mean? They're not contributing to the shop in any way. They're gonna come early, smell like weed, leave it dirty, all of that, because they don't care about the shop. And so whenever I hear barbershop owners say that, well, I care about the people and I want to, and I'm like, they don't care about you though. So it's better to have a situation where I've got your back and you've got my back. My shop's not going to be dirty because, one, I won't allow it,
Mhm.
and two, because they understand, like, when Joey's station is dirty, it looks bad for me. And I'm going to say something myself, or I'm at least going to bring it up to you, meaning me, And so we're all in it together because we want the shop to keep going the way it is. With the booth rent model, it's not like that. It's just every man for themselves. Some are going to be good, some are going to be bad. And, on the flip side, though, the shop as a commission shop, it has a responsibility to keep people busy, to supply everything. I supply everything: cool care, neck strips, capes, everything. Anything you could imagine except your tools. Soda, water, coffee, tea. We have cold brew on tap. We have a candy bar that's giant, all of it. I pay for everything. But in order to do that, it has to be commission. Or else you can't do it on booth rent, Right. And a lot of times, a lot of barbers too, when they become owners, they're like, well, I just want to make enough to pay all the bills, and so I can keep 100% of what I make. And I'm like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, because you get now all the responsibility of a business owner, and you don't get compensated in any way.
Right.
You might as well go work in a suite, because it's the same thing.
Right.
But then people will say, well, but then I have to pay rent on the suite. But I'm telling you, that 100% of what you make, it's not worth managing 5 people, 7 people, 10 people. I have 21 barbers at my 3 shops.
Wow.
So it wouldn't be, if I was just cutting hair and just making the money that I made cutting hair, keeping 100% of it, it wouldn't be worth managing 21 people.
No,
it's just way too, you know what I mean? It's way, way too much. So
I understand the premise behind that, and so I just think that, I don't know, these are the discussions that we, if we decide to, start it with me and you, of having these conversations with barbershop owners and people that want to do better in the industry, man, that, to use what our knowledge, and especially what you have, and shift from, booth rent to commission to be more successful. You know what I mean? So I'm excited, man, for the future of the industry.
Yeah.
If you were to see your shop in 5 years, what do you see your shop in 5 years?
So I don't want to open more shops.
Okay.
It becomes a bit cumbersome, and the amount of personnel it takes it's just, now that I'm in my 50s, I want to start slowing down a little bit. And so what I see in the future is, and I'm in talks with a few of the barbers, is, okay, you live in Chula Vista, let's open Pappy's in Chula Vista. We go 50-50 on it. I'll put in the money. We use the name. We do everything like that. Boom, you hit the ground running, and we can do it. And I can consult the whole way through, and we work out some kind of a payment plan. And that way I give them that opportunity, because the young guys are hungry to do that. They don't mind to work 80 hours a week. I don't want to do that anymore.
I'm not doing it ever again.
Yeah, I have kids and a wife and, other things going on. So the guys that are in their late 20s, early 30s, and they want to hustle and they don't have kids yet or whatever, great. Let's go ahead and open a shop. We can open Pappy's if you want, or we can open your brand. I'm down to do whatever. It doesn't have to be my brand. My brand is just already a brand, so it makes it a little easier. But either way, I just want to help other people do things. Man, I can tell you, man, I'm very blessed. I've had some big wins in business, and I'm able to live a certain lifestyle, and I don't need to do anything else, like to live. And I'm also very simple in the way I live. I live way below my means. I have no debt. I don't need fancy stuff. And so for me, my life financially is at a point where it's great the way it is. It's perfect. We travel a ton. We do tons of fun stuff with my family. My kids can go to private school, all of this. And so for me, it's more like, how do I help this guy who's slaving away all day, cutting haircuts at my shop? How can I help him get to the next level? Because I'll tell you, the best wins I've ever had being a business owner is when I know I have 21 barbers. In between all my businesses, I have 52 employees, or not employees, but people that work for me or with me, whatever. And when I look at that and I go, okay, because of what I've taken a chance on and created, 52 people can afford to live in San Diego. That's like way cooler of an accomplishment than anything I've ever gotten for myself. So in my mind, the future is let me help you, let me help him, let me help them, like bring it to the next level.
I love that, man. I got a question. So I ask every single person that I interview this question, and it's if you could talk to your younger self, right? What type of advice would you give him today?
Oh man. I'll tell you what. One is, I mean, I'm pretty fearless, but mainly I would say, have 100% confidence in whatever you're doing, and do it to your fullest potential. Don't like we talked about earlier, like don't half step it at all. I think when you're young, you really don't, because you could be working a lot too when you're young and you're not really getting anywhere because everything's a minimum wage job and you don't have experience to do anything. And so you just think like, man, I'm just turning my wheels here and nothing is happening. But I think if anything, I would say, be a really, really good person in general. Take care of your friends and family and help other people up. Don't criticize them. And if you can get through life without criticizing other people and you can just be a good person in general and have confidence in life, I feel like you could do anything really. You know what I mean? It's our own shortcomings that hold us back. Oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not old enough. I'm not wealthy enough. I'm not whatever enough to accomplish whatever it is I want to do. I mean, if you want to talk about strictly success based on finances, like I'm a freaking dummy. I barely graduated high school. You know what I mean? If I could do it, anyone could do it. And so I think like that's what it is mainly, is just have 100% confidence in what you're doing. And if you fail, it's okay. You're going to fail a lot in life.
It seems like you're continuously learning as well.
I mean, I have so many failures. It's crazy. What's that?
I say it seems like you're continuously learning as well.
You definitely got to keep learning. I don't like, my favorite thing is to not know, because then I can like ask you, hey man, I'm starting a podcast. Can you help me do it? You know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
Like, I like that. I don't want to know everything. I like it that, and the reality is you can't know everything anyway. So why even front like you do? Better to be like, I don't know. I mean, I barely know how to change the oil on my car.
We're in the same boat, man.
You know what I mean? I'm sure I could figure it out. I've never actually done it.
Man, I'll pull up the Valvoline so quick, fast, in a hurry. I'm telling you. I mean, this is great information. I'm sitting here, I'm a student just listening to you, man, be honest with you. You know what I mean? That's why I like to have these conversations. I learned from the people that I speak to as well.
Yeah.
Even though I've been in the game for like 21 years, you can never stop learning. You know what I mean? And having these conversations and hearing your story and where you came from and what you're doing now. And it's motivating me. It's like, man, okay, you need to, continue to grind and hustle and continue to do your thing. Sure. You know what I mean? And so I appreciate you, Marc, for taking your time out, man, and just giving us your wisdom, your knowledge of just the industry, of just life in general, right? Because barbering, there's so much to it. You know what I mean? And people forget, like when they sit in our chairs, like we have lives too. And we are people that, we leave this chair and we go through things as well, So, man, your story is awesome. One last question for you, man. It's pretty much an easy question. If you were to cut anybody, dead or alive, right? Celebrity, whoever it would be, who would that be?
If I could meet them or cut their hair.
Cut their hair.
Cut their hair. I would say I would cut their hair only to meet them. The cutting their hair wouldn't be as much as if I had the opportunity to meet somebody. I would use the cutting the hair as the reason to meet them.
As
but
the tool to get,
that's a good question, because there's a lot of people I appreciate in the world. That's a good question, man. So I actually go to the Hare Krishna temple. I'm a Hare Krishna devotee, and the founder of the Hare Krishna movement in the 60s, his name was Srila Prabhupada, and he taught love of God. And if I could go back in time before he passed away and have a conversation, I think that's the person I would have it with. Also, it would be an easy haircut because he was a monk. So
right. Real simple.
Yeah,
right. But
yeah, I think that would be it, man. That would be it.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. That's what's up. You have any questions for me?
Man, I got a lot of questions for you, but I think we don't have time. So, I really feel like we should definitely get together and have some sort of a barbershop social and invite whoever wants to come and start talking about some of these topics and make this industry better for us and better for all the people in it.
No, because there's definitely a lot of things that I wanted to discuss, and we kind of just had this organic conversation, man, and it went where it went, and so I definitely want to pick your brain as well in the near future. We're gonna have a part 2.
Cool.
In the near future, right?
Perfect. Yeah.
All right, man. Hey, everybody, we appreciate you guys listening up to this podcast. The ideal is to make sure that one person is motivated for this podcast, and we definitely know that Marc gave us a lot of jewels and a lot of information so we can succeed in this industry. So if you like this podcast, don't forget to subscribe and click on the like button and share it to anybody in the industry that you think needs to hear this information. We appreciate you guys. Have a blessed day.
Take care, man.
Peace, bro.